Hello, welcome. I hope you all enjoyed the trailer. We've been so excited about that. I think both Scott and I worked on it for a very long time with some outsourced partners, along with Corey as well. So, yeah, we absolutely loved it. We've been so excited to finally get that out and show it to you.
Yeah, big shout out to Plastic Wax in Australia, and also Power Friends at Power Up Audio, who did all the amazing audio too, and Ben Prunty for the music, as
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. So, let's start off this Q&A with quite possibly two of the most frequently asked questions that we got submitted in there, which is when does the game release? And we can now very happily say to you May 14th. We If you check our website, it'll have the exact time, and that's also across multiple time zones. So you can now go and check that little graphic out, and it will show that for you. And then, what will the early access price be? And that we are also very excited to let you know that the early access price will be $29.99. So at early access release, 29.99 US dollars. That will change depending on what region of the world that you are in. We have done regional pricing, so please, if you are not in the United States, check your local storefront. It will adjust for local regional pricing. So, yeah, with those two out of the way, we'll get into some of the other most frequently asked questions. And let me see, which one should I start with? Let's start with this one and ask Anthony. Will the Tadpole be the only vehicle at early access launch? Or are more submersibles in? How many tadpole attachments have we not seen?
Well, now that's a good question. We have a couple of things. We have the tadpole, and then we have the two chassis that people have seen. I think you saw both in the trailer, um, although you only see, I think, one briefly. But we have the wings, which we call the Scout Ray chassis, and then we have what people have already mostly parsed together called a haul rig, which is like a bigger thing that's made to support optional multiplayer. And if you're in single player, it just has a big storage and has utility for you too. So we have those two in the game at EA1 launch, and then we also are working on the other sort of core vehicle fantasies that we know people have. So we have a mech suit in the works, which is our prawn and analog, and then we have our large sub as well in the works. So we'll have the sort of Cyclops feeling that people want, although those things will come out in the course of early access because we want to make sure that we introduce them at the right point in progression for people that are experiencing the game at 1.0, right? So we wouldn't want to just put those things in the game and not have you have a region and the rest of the game feel like they're built to accommodate those. So those are all coming in with good time with where the regions actually get developed for them.
That's great. Um, let's have a look. Let's stick with some of the ones that are about vehicles and keep them kind of like grouped together. So a lot of people have asked about a Cyclops equivalent and whether there will be something that is similar to that, or is the Cyclops returning? Anthony, do you want to speak a little bit on that one as well?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no returning vehicles. We do have some returning tools, but there's no returning vehicles. That was both because um, the team was excited to try and make something different, but also because it's been far enough in the actual lore and history in a new planet that we thought that our players would want something new as well. But we understand that like the absolute fantasy of those things is very important to people, right? They want a big sub that they can build in. They want a big sub that they can uh, have multiple stations to like look at the cameras and do all the things that the Cyclops could do, and they want a big sub that can feel like a mobile base. And so those are something that we are going to work on, and we've already been dabbling in already. So Our version of it, named TBD, um, but we do have something like that in the works, and it's absolutely like a core part of Subnautica that we plan to replicate. It just won't be the exact Cyclops that you've known and seen before, but I think our version of it will hopefully be, I don't want to say better, but hopefully comparable.
I see. Daniel, I'm gonna call on you next. You ready?
I am ready.
Amazing. So, will vehicles in Subnautica 2 have more customization options? So, not just the ability to recolor it and change the name.
So yeah, I don't think we have color stuff in at the moment. We do have the chassis configurations, which obviously creates a lot of variety on the tadpole. On top of that, we also have, which I love to talk about constantly, the hard points, which allow you to attach various like devices to the vehicles and change the not only the appearance but also the functionality, which to me is like super cool. So hopefully that's a good starting point for vehicle customization.
I think so. I think it's very cool that you're able to like switch out things depending on like what kind of mission you decided to set yourself and you go out to do. You
Yeah.
can like change things around depending on how you want the vehicle to function.
Yeah, I feel like it's like off-roading almost, just like strapping stuff to your car.
Yeah. Okay. Abraxas. Scott, you're up.
Hello. How are we doing?
I'm
What
gonna.
question are we up to?
We are going to do the. How much playtime do you expect there to be in early access?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, and the reason I say that is because we've seen from a lot of our internal and external playtesting that it really depends on your play style. So I think originally, Anthony, we were aiming for what, like something like 12 hours or something like that.
That was
And
the goal.
then
Yeah.
I think we've gone beyond that by a significant margin. I think we're up to an average of over 20 hours now for most playthroughs. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, something
Yeah.
around that, which is great. But there's a lot of people who have played 70 hours. Some people have played only 5 to 8 hours. It just depends whether you're like one of the speedrunner types or one of the people who like to read every single PDA entry and go every single corner of the world. So I think we got something really meaty for this first release, more than any other early access release we've ever done. So that should be really great for players. But know that there is more coming. So whatever you end up playing and however long it takes you to complete early access one, more content is on its way as we go through early access.
Yeah, I think it's very important to say that like wherever we're at in development, we're already thinking ahead and looking and developing what's next. So it's not like the first early access update comes out and then there's like we haven't got anything planned. We do have like some plans already, and please look at Anthony's doggo. It's great. Amazing. Um this one might be nice for both maybe Aaron and Anthony to answer. So this one is like, are there any plans for any sorts of like toys? So like items that players can interact with but aren't necessarily needed. So stuff like the snowballs from Below Zero or the plushies from Subnautica 1, kind of like decorative fun items that aren't, you know, necessarily functional to gameplay.
Absolutely. Anthony, do you want to start and then I'll chime in after?
I know of one that's in the game right now, that was put in sort of on a whim by one of our technical designers, Sasha, and he put in. I don't even want to spoil it because I want people
Don't
to find
spoil it.
There's a thing you can play with, and it is a thing that literally exists for you to play with. That's all it exists for. There's no reason for it to be there. And then I think the better thing that we should do at some point is we should probably hold some like sort of roundtable brainstorms with the community to find out what sort of things they're already thinking make sense for the world we have, and then we could actually develop more of those. Because we haven't tried to force anything like that. I feel like a lot of those things need to happen organically, and it should probably happen from like we're all playing or we're playtesting together, and we see that, Astroneer did this at one point. They saw that people started playing like fake soccer, and then at some point they're like, we're just going to add a soccer ball. It serves no purpose, but here's a ball if you want a physics ball that you can roll around. And I think that's sort of the way that I hope we can do it too.
Absolutely. Anybody who spent some time in Discord has heard some very creative and exciting ideas that people have that we would absolutely be interested in looking at post early access. So we do have our Nolt service. So if people do have ideas, please feel free to submit the Nolt ideas. No guarantees that those will make it into game, but we absolutely encourage people to contribute. And everything spurs ideas within the development team. So we may not implement it directly, but in spirit, you never know.
Yeah. Let's see. There are obviously we've shown off a little bit in the Collector Leviathan devlog about like creature interactions, and I think we've shown it a little bit in some of the other devlogs as well. But with different creatures, will different creatures have different unique interactions, and like how in depth is this mechanic currently, or is there like any plans for like what we're gonna do with that moving forward? I think this is probably best suited to Anthony.
Yeah. We have some creature enters that interact with the environment. I think everyone's seen like the hammerhead creature that kind of slams into the coral domes. I think we've shown that, and we have instances of predators that will kind of interact with each other as well. We have like the half moon, the little symbol of the server. Those things will like swim down to grass to hide. So there is more instances of behavior that I think shows like a cleverness to creatures. But I think that's the type of thing that will only get better over the course of early access. Like we're trying to make it more interactive and more intelligent than ever, but those things are going to take time, because I think if you look at the sheet that people have shared, like the conspiracy looking sheets of like every creature in the game that people have sourced, there's a huge amount, like way more than any Subnautica.
I love those so much.
Me too. Yeah. But like to have that many creatures, I think it also means that like we've kept some of them a little more simpler and invested in others. But over the course of time, we hope to invest more fully in all of them. But that'll take time in early access.
Yeah. Let's jump across so that Artyom can answer a question, maybe. Arty, you ready?
Yes.
So we hear this a lot in the text chats as well about how big the map is, or how big or deep they're expecting the game to go. Can you talk a little bit more about what that's going to be like in early access when we launch?
Yeah, so in early access, we have like a refined amount of space. However, the good thing about Unreal is that we can just keep adding landscape in any kind of direction that we want. So whenever I see this question come up, like how big is the map going to be, my answer to that is always the same as how long is a piece of string, because we really can go as much as we need to, and that's the big thing, is we want to make sure that we actually fill the space with meaningful content and meaningful world and meaningful discoveries, and not just fill it for the sake of filling it. And I don't think we know how big it's going to be yet. Like, that is just the honest to gosh answer.
Yeah, we have several more regions planned, and like space between the regions, but a lot of that changes in early access. If we're finding out that players want us to lean into something else and we agree, like that's something where it could completely alter that. So that's why it's like, I don't think people are always trying to play coy. It's that it's such an unknown to a large degree. Like we have an idea where we want to go, but we aren't sure, that it's really hard to answer that question definitively.
Yeah.
I think Anthony's favorite answer is it'll be as big as it needs to be to convey the gameplay and the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That answer feels like the right one as well, because we shouldn't be allowing like the numbers to dictate the game that we're making. We should allow the game to kind of progress and develop in the way that it needs to, and we'll build the world to accommodate that. And I think that's the really nice way of doing it. Who hasn't answered a question yet? I don't think Sam has, right?
I have not.
Let's do one that's really fun, because this kind of also plays into some of the work that you've done. Will Subnautica 2 be cross-platform?
Yes, so we'll have full cross-platform cross-play from day one of early access. We've got our own in-game friends list, so you can add friends on any platform in-game. You can, join your friends through the in-game friends list, and it should work completely seamlessly between all platforms we support now, and if we add any more in the future as well.
Brilliant.
Actually, Sam, did you want to talk about cross sharing save games and stuff too while you're there?
Oh yeah. So yeah, you can also upload your save games to the cloud and download those on other platforms. So if you're playing a game with your friends, whoever's hosting can upload the save when they leave, and then you can continue it in single player or whatever you want to do later on.
While we're at it, because we've got a couple of people who can speak to it as well, seeing as we've switched over to something that's slightly more technical. This is probably pretty well suited to Artyom and Daniel. But we obviously switched from Unity to Unreal Engine 5. So what were the challenges of that, and what kind of felt different about using Unreal instead of Unity?
You could start, Daniel.
Oh, sure. Yeah, just from an artist's point of view, I think Unreal has a lot more art tools that make our job easier, which is really nice. It's kind of a flood of new features at all times, which is kind of like a blessing and a curse, I guess. They can be really useful, but also there's learning curves. You have to figure out performance impacts and whatnot. I also think Unreal's just better able to handle really large scale projects. Unity is a little better for, I think, smaller projects. On the other hand, Unity can be really quick and lightweight, which I miss. Sometimes it's nice to have fewer options and just work within constraints. But I think I'm fond of Unity, but Unreal was definitely the right choice for this project.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when it comes to the in-content stuff, which is what level design mainly is, a 3D program is a 3D program. It's just a different slap of paint. But I do like how much more robust Unreal is compared to Unity. For example, the world partition allows for editing multiple areas of the world all at once. Meanwhile, the way that Unity had it for Subnautica 1 and Below Zero was this cell-based, having to load multiple ones on top of each other, etc., etc. Which really, you can't really have the entire world open at the same time, but Unreal, at the moment, you can, and it's very nice.
I will add, though, that I think there's a thing called Blueprint in Unreal, which makes it way easier for us to prototype stuff for us that aren't as technical. And so I don't have to rely on a smart person like Sam to make something and show people what it is. But then I do have to rely on Sam to take the thing that I make that's very shoddy and kind of barely functional and make it actually worth putting in the video game. So I still haven't escaped Sam.
Pretty lines.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but I get to at least prototype stuff.
Amazing. Here we go. Here's one for Scott. Let's throw it out. There are a lot of different characters that we can choose to play in Subnautica 2, but is there a canon protagonist?
Well, this is the fun thing about Subnautica 2, is that every single character is a canon protagonist, because, and I don't want to give away too much of the story, the amazing story that Seth has written, but every single character in the game, and there will be more coming in the future, every single character is part of the story, and you will find out as we go along. There is not one that's more than the other, but you'll also, we got a lot of characters who you don't see as well, through PDA entries and other voice lines that I don't want to give away, but are so cool. So yeah, there's a lot of different characters in the game, and the ones you play as, they are all canon. You can't go wrong with any of the characters. I don't know if anyone wanted to expand on that, but
I guess I would just say it's not about the story of any one individual. It's more about the story of the people that were on the cicada. And so you can be any number of the people that were on the cicada, and it's ultimately still the consequences of their journey.
Yeah,
and as an aside for that as well, I know a lot of people have been asking us about the voices. All of our characters are actually real actors. We are not using AI or TTS, so we have actually brought in named actors to do all of our voices. And I'm actually really excited for everybody to hear some of the creativity that our actors put forth with their performances.
And then the addition to that is that the character that you are playing, which is like not necessarily like a character, it is basically you with your chosen person. They are not voiced, so it is a silent, quote unquote, protagonist. So the sort of like POV character for like who you are playing and who you choose, they are not voiced, but the characters that you hear in PDAs and everything will have voices. So much more similar to the approach of Subnautica 1 instead of the direction that we chose in Below Zero. I think that's probably a very important distinction to make as well. Let's have a look. Actually, this one's really fun, seeing as we wrapped up the series a couple of weeks back. And we're talking a little bit about the characters and the story. Scott, will the voices of Beyond audio drama connect to the in-game story? And if players didn't listen to it, will they miss any important context for the game?
Yeah, so Voices from Beyond was made so that we could tell a bit of backstory for Subnautica 2, so that if you really wanted to get into some more lore of what happened, and why the cicada is in the place that it is, you could find out a little bit and kind of connect a load of dots. And when you play Subnautica 2, you'll get bits and pieces of information that you learned in Voices from Beyond that will make sense in the game. But you don't need to listen to the audio drama at all in order to enjoy Subnautica 2, because it will tell its own story. It just it's like a little extra, little frosting on the top, you know? Like if you really want to get into the details, you can watch and listen to those episodes. And I highly recommend you do, because they were great fun to work on, and they give you just that little bit extra backstory. And I'm all about lore. I love lore so much. And if you're a lore nerd like me, go and watch and listen to those on our YouTube channel. They have their own playlist, and then play Subnautica 2, and I think you'll really enjoy it. But yeah, they do connect, but they are not needed to play the game.
Yeah, I will say, as someone who also worked on them alongside Scott and alongside the really excellent company that we used to like develop it, they're called Bond. They did an amazing job, along with like
Vox Point.
Vox Point, Power Up Audio did a lot of work with us on it. But yeah, we were really thoughtful about the story we chose to tell with it. So we set it in like a very specific slice of time within the Subnautica universe, so that it didn't really encroach too much on the story that we are specifically telling in Subnautica 2, but basically just gave you a little bit of extra flavor leading into it. Yeah, it was so much fun to work on. It's probably one of the most fun projects that I've done, was like a kind of like an aside project from like the game. Let's have a look and see. The one on here that is like the funniest question is just one that says fish ?
I think that one's for Artie.
Yeah. Artie,
Awesome.
fish?
A Reddit thread, yeah. A Reddit thread of all the times I said fish on Discord. I can confirm, and I don't mean to leak this, Anthony. I'm sorry, there are fish in Subnautica 2.
Fired.
Finally.
I just wanted to take a second, Danya, people keep asking if we're going to have pre-orders. And I just wanted to say, we're not doing pre-orders, but the game's out in 2 weeks. So we don't need to do pre-orders. Just buy it when it comes out. It'll be there. It's fine.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. No pre-orders, so just, buy it when it's out. We will have a lot more stuff, like, the next 2 weeks, you will not be short of, like, activities that you can engage with and like things, and like we've got so much planned over the next 2 weeks, so you will have a lot to be engaging with and doing. You won't even notice that you have no pre-orders and nothing to buy. These next 2 weeks are gonna go by so fast, I promise you. Yeah, let's have another look and see what I can pull out. Maybe this one for Sam, because we haven't given Sam enough of a spotlight. Sam, you ready?
I'm ready.
Will the game be able to run on a low-end computer?
So that really depends on what you mean by low-end computer. I would suggest if anyone's not sure if it runs on their machine, we've got system requirements on our Steam page, both minimum requirements, which is kind of this will run on your PC, but we don't promise it will be on maximum settings or look really extra pretty, and then recommended, which is kind of what we suggest is like the best machine to run the game on it. You know, high FPS, decent settings, that sort of thing. We have tried very hard to kind of optimize for as many options of hardware as we can. So we've been testing on Steam Deck, we've been testing on other handhelds. Obviously, there's the Xbox
The
version.
ROG
So,
Ally X series.
Yeah.
Xbox Ally, yeah.
So there's a lot of different hardware we've been testing on. We've tried to optimize as best we can, and then it should hopefully only get better during early access as well. This is only kind of a starting point. We intend to keep optimizing as we go through, and obviously we can't get to every single optimization for early access launch, so we'll keep at it as we move forward.
Yeah. And we will like obviously share. I think I don't know if we have an image with like a better image that has like more in-depth system requirements. I don't know if that has gone out yet. That I think it may be planned to be posted tomorrow if it isn't already up on like our Steam page. So just watch out for that. As soon as it's posted, I will also let everyone know, so you will be able to look at that one, which has a little bit more detail than we're able to put on some of the storefronts. So yeah, let's see. Ooh, this one's kind of fun. Will the biomes that come out in EA1, so the first early access released, be final at that point, or will they be updated during development? And I think Daniel had like put himself forward to answer this question.
Yeah. So I think at least on the art side, like we have plans to keep refining the visuals of those biomes to some extent. I don't think we have plans to, massively overhaul any of the existing biomes, although, you don't plan to do that stuff generally, so who knows what could happen in early access. But I think the plan is to keep polishing that stuff, but not massively change the existing biomes, as far as I know.
Maybe Anthony has more input on stuff like that.
I would say that we know that there's some of them, like Daniel's saying, that need like a secondary and tertiary art passes to like bring them all up to the quality level we want the game to be at for 1.0. And the only time that we would do like substantial revisions of the existing ones would be because we put it out there and there's like a complete failure to navigate the way we thought people would. They're just never finding this one thing. Then we might look at like what type of environment changes do we need to do. But that always doesn't require like an overhaul. That could be as simple as like a single POI that calls them in the distance. So it's never as simple as like we got to overhaul the environment every time or something like that. We try and ship stuff that we're mostly confident in, but yeah.
Ooh. Aaron, speaking of things that are going to be in Early Access 1, how much of the story would you say is in the first Early Access release?
We've talked a lot about this, Seth, Anthony, and I, and to put a specific number on it, I think is pretty tough. I think the best thing that I can say is that there will be an ending for early access to the story, but it is not the ending. In addition, I think that people will be very interested and excited about the amount of story that there is in for the early access release.
I would say that the entire game, front to back for early access, is made to have narrative content throughout. And as Aaron said, there's like a I don't know, end of the season TV show style cliffhanger to it, that hopefully will make people excited for the next update and, keep you coming back for more. But in the grand scheme of the things, will not be the full story.
Yeah, and I think with the sort of like rough estimate of like, we usually say like at the lower end, probably we're thinking like early access is going to be at least probably 2 years of development, right? And so to think that like the entirety of the story might be there when we launch into this first bit of early access is no. I mean, it's just not going to be there. We want to develop it over the course of early access, whether that's like at the 2-year point or like it does go a little bit longer than that. I think we usually estimate or have written estimates of like 2 to 3 years. But yeah, there's a good chunk of story there and it's very cool, but there is so much more to come with it as well. So yeah.
And I think the big thing to remember with the story is that we have the early access component of it. We sort of know where we want to end up, but that juicy middle is the thing that we're going to continue to work with the community on. I know that Seth and Anthony have a direction that they want to go, but they want feedback. And that's the whole point of the way that we do games is early access, is to get the information out there, see what the community thinks, and then adjust based on that feedback.
Yeah. I think it's so, like, just generally community input and community feedback is so incredibly important. It's why we do this, right? It's why we release the game into early access. It's why we participate in what we like to call open development, where we like share this journey with you because we want to build the game alongside the community and get your input as much as possible. So that is basically in our DNA. It is what we do. Let's have a look. Let's pick out something else. Who hasn't had the chance to answer a question for a little bit? Maybe we go back to Artyom, give him another question to answer. This one is kind of, there's like a few kind of grouped together, which is generally about the biomes, like how many will there be in early access, or kind of like, are they all planned out? Do you have every single one planned, or what should people expect with respect to biomes?
Yeah, so one thing with the world we've done, it's different than Subnautica 1. In Subnautica 1 you had your biomes, but we've grouped them a little differently. For Subnautica 2, so you have your regions, and then those regions are split into biomes. Then those biomes are split into subbiomes, and so forth and so forth. We have not planned all the biomes yet. That's still going to be up in the air as we continue to build. But when it comes to how many regions we have at early access, because I'm not going to say biomes because I want that to be a secret, we have at least 2 regions. I think that's a sufficient answer.
I'll just add that when we say regions have biomes in them. So it sounds like if it sounds like we only have 2 biomes, like I was adding it up the other day. I was like, I really need to sit down with the LDs, the level designers, and show them this, because I started dividing up for the audio team, and I was like, I count like well over 10 biomes for us. But that's how I divide up the lines. And I was like, I don't know if we've ever had a conversation about where the line between this biome and this biome is, like the western and eastern part of this zone and stuff like that. But we have a lot of biomes, especially for early access launch.
Yeah, I will say that every time I go in to sort of play the game, I still like, as much as like I've watched development as it's developed and watched this come together, and as much as I've played, I always still feel like there are still areas of the world that I haven't seen. Like, I feel like I haven't looked and seen and combed like every single part of like what's already there. I'm sure that by the time it's out and the community gets their hands on it, they will probably come up with a more thorough, like, not necessarily map, but mapping out like what's there and like finding everything. But I believe in the community to find things that even I haven't in the game.
I'm excited to see what the community names them as well, because it's like, we have our internal name, but it's like, oh, look what they're calling that.
Yeah. Here's this one, which is kind of, I know a lot of people ask about it a lot, and we had touched on it in a Q&A that we did last year, which was specifically about voice chat or proximity chat or stuff like that. We've got a few people who put their hands up against this question to kind of like answer, but I guess Aaron first, maybe?
Absolutely. We have heard the community incredibly loudly that there is a desire for proximity chat. It will not be in place for our early access release. However, keep your eyes open. We are currently investigating, and I would anticipate that it will be rolled out relatively quickly after our early access release. So you don't need to keep putting it into Nolt. We've heard you. We know you want it.
It's been everywhere, all over
It's been
Discord,
everywhere.
Nolt, the forum, like various forums, Reddit. It's been everywhere. We've heard you all, guys. We're figuring it out. Just don't hold us to an exact date.
My favorite word is soon.
TM trademark.
Yeah.
Would add, as the world's biggest Lethal Company fan, I've been very annoying about it internally, so I'm hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's have a look at something else. Oh, this one is kind of interesting. It's sort of like Scott has put himself forward to answer this one, which is kind of more of a lore question than a gameplay one, but what happens to... It says what happens to our bodies when we die. Do they disappear? And what does it kind of look like for multiplayer?
Well,
when people
our
die?
bodies decompose, but the ones in game do not. So I just want to be clear about that. Yeah, so when you die, you might leave a little something behind. I think Anthony might be best to describe exactly what is left behind, though.
I'll describe it only because I can tell you specifically what it is, because I don't think most people, if they play the game, will ever pick up on what it is, because when you become a colonist, you get this cool little thing grafted to your spine that is like a tracking device, and that's what you leave behind, along with like a little bit of your inventory stuff is what you leave. It's like a little floating spinal attachment thing. It's not gross. We didn't make it gross. That's not really the style of this game, to make it a little bit. And you don't leave your spine behind. It's a little thing that gets attached. It's not your spine. We're not Mortal Kombat. But we leave that behind. In the canon, I think Seth would speak to this more, but I think, in the canon of it, we would actually leave a body behind if we were like actually doing this fictionally. That it's not like the colonists just dissolve in real life, but in the course of the game, it didn't make any sense for us to leave a bunch of bodies behind. So that's why we leave the little black box for the colonists behind.
Yeah.
And you can find those black boxes, right?
Yeah, black boxes are, the story of the game is the story of what happened to the colonists of the cicada. So the black boxes are not only something that we use as an asset for players when they die, but it is also an asset that you'll find throughout the world, which will be like ways that you can find the presence or lack thereof anymore. The previous presence of colonists. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other most common thing being asked, because I have multiple questions about it, is generally about the Leviathans. How many? Will there be anything similar to the Reaper Leviathan? I don't know, Anthony, if you want to talk a little bit about the Leviathans and the approach to Leviathans.
I was adding these up the other day. I think we have 5 in early access launch. I counted. So that's not to say that we have 5 aggressive ones, because I think one of the important things about the approach to Leviathans is that that we need Leviathans that are out to get you, and Leviathans that are also there to kind of inspire passive wonder. Things like the glow whale, were that as well. And why am I spacing on the name of the reefback? The reefback is like the perfect example of like an awe-inspiring one that's actually also scary if you have thalassophobia. I didn't approach a reefback for like 2 hours when I first started playing Subnautica. I was like, nope. And then I was like, trying to test the waters to see if it would get aggressive, and it didn't. And I was like, oh, friend shaped. It's actually friend shaped, even if I didn't understand that. So we have, nice Leviathans, mean Leviathans. You guys got to see a little bit of the new Leviathan, one of the new Leviathans in the trailer. And so we have, static Leviathans that don't actually necessarily swim around either, but they're still there as part of the world. So the approach for them has been to cover a wide variety of things. We know that people like giant creatures, and we want to have the giant creatures in the game, but we also know that it's important that not all of them exist to just like come at the player and get them. They are there as much to inspire wonder and curiosity as they are fear.
Yeah, I think I like the kind of approach where it's like they're not all aggressive, right? And I do think that even with some of them, I think like you probably even saw it in the devlog that we did about the Collector Leviathan, is that they also have, well, the Collector Leviathan especially has like some unique behaviors that are like maybe slightly different to like how you might have interacted with a Leviathan in the previous games, and I think that's also quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think that'll get better over time. Once the game is not launching with the region that I would consider the home of the Collector, but we have people working on that type of stuff right now. And I think once that goes in, that'll let the Collector really show that it's not just a monster that exists to chase the player. It's more of a creature with its own agenda that the player just happens to cross paths with.
Yeah. This one is probably Anthony's most favorite question ever.
Dubious. Okay.
Yeah. How deep is Subnautica 2, Anthony?
At Early Access 2, it's several hundred meters deep. And let me tell you that at some point when you go past like 200 meters with the lighting that we have, it starts to all feel like it's the abyss, because the lighting really falls off quite strong and it gets very dark. That being said, as we said that we don't know how big the final world's going to be, I can't tell you how deep the world's going to necessarily be either, other than we're aiming to take it very, very deep. But we want to do that in a way that's intentional, right? Because we could just make a big hole in the ground and you descend for 2 minutes straight and nothing happens, but we take you down to 30,000 meters or something like that. But that is not what I think people want. We want to take it down to a depth where you're like actually going on a journey and feeling it together. So, and having things to do during that time. So it's going to be deep. That's all I'll say. I don't know how deep, but it's going to be deep.
As a member of what I like to call the weenie farm, I like to say that I'm like scared about like literally everything. I will even say that like the atmosphere, I think like the depth of it is like so hard to like quantify in respect of like once you get down there. I think it's like, as you said, it's the atmosphere. Like I think that sometimes for me gives me more of the tension than it is like I'm at X number depth and that's scary. It's more, oh my gosh, the atmosphere surrounding me at whatever depth it is, that's the thing that's causing the like tension and making me want to like just, take another little trip back to the shallows just to like chill out. I am a big weenie. I get scared of everything. Do not ask me if I watch horror movies. I in fact do not watch horror movies. I can't stand them. Let's have a look. There's a lot of questions that are like about how much like flora and fauna species are we planning to add, and I think a lot of that we've probably already touched upon, that like we're not trying to like quantify it with like a specific number. It's kind of, we'll add what makes sense for the game. So let's try and pick out one. This one's kind of like fun. People love the cuttlefish a lot. And so they're asking, have we thought about some kind of companion creature for Subnautica 2 that might come in at any point?
Oh man, we've had many talks about different companion creatures. There was like a retreat years ago where Seth talked about giving people a baby that they would take care of and stuff like that, and I was like, that's insane in the best way. And then we talked about, like, I don't know, should we just have something that's like a cuttlefish and it just becomes something that you take care of? To me, the thing that I've always been inspired for was Corey Strader, who's been like a concept artist and art director with us for a long time, did this concept of like a Subnautica that I guess like a concept even before I joined the company, that had this guy sitting with his arm around a robotic dog, and the dog was projecting a face, and I was like, robot pet. I love it so much. I love the fact that it projects like an emoji pet face. And to me, I think if we were to go down some type of companion thing, we would probably end up doing something kind of robotic as well. But, you know, making it cute and have utility for you and be a friend. It's just a matter of, to me, it's a matter of when. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like at one point maybe the concept ended up somewhere at one point. I think it might have...
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like it kind of ended up I think it might have been in one of the devlogs potentially. I've seen it sneak out somewhere in like the chat, the Subnautica 2 chat at one point. So I think it's out there somewhere.
I think you actually posted it, Anthony, in Discord.
Oh, I posted the really... Remember I said Blueprint lets you make stuff in Unreal that's like really shoddy, and I made a shoddy version of it over one weekend and gave it like a simply smiley face thing. And and then one of my coworkers, Adrian, did a version of it that was much superior. So it's just a matter of time. Like, we all know that it's something we want to do. And so it's just a matter of when and at what phases do we roll it out. Because the first early access one, you know, might, like many early access things, be rudimentary, and then we'll add things over time and give it more personality and all that stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. I think like pretty much most of the questions that I've got left from the ones that were submitted are kind of like things that we've kind of already covered a little bit. So maybe before we wrap up, because we've got like about 5 minutes ish of time where I had everyone scheduled to come and take part, but maybe go through one by one and say like one thing you're really excited about for the community to experience for Subnautica 2. Maybe we'll put Anthony on the spot first.
That's fine. I think the start of the game is the thing that I'm excited. You know, I think every Subnautica has always had a bit of a cinematic opening, and I think we're no different. But I still, and I've done it hundreds of times at this point, every time I do our startup thing, I'm like, man, that's freaking awesome. Every time. And I've done it so many times at this point that it should be boring, but I still think it's great. So I think the pacing of it turned out really well. I think even some of the stuff that people did as experiments, like I think it was Sasha, one of our technical designers, that put in like, well, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to spoil things, but there's some stuff he did in there that I was like, he just tried it and I was like, yeah, that's genius. Let's do that. And so we have I think it's a really strong opening of the game.
Scott, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm excited for players to play a brand new, fresh Subnautica game, but that feels like a Subnautica game. It's exceptionally hard to make a game from scratch in an entirely new engine and make it feel like you're playing the same game but better. It just everything just feels familiar, and I think the team have done an amazing job in capturing the feel of the original Subnautica and the best bits of Below Zero and like combined everything into one. So I can't wait for people to just have that feeling of, oh, I'm back. And that, I think, excites me.
Artyom, how about you?
For me, I'm really excited to see people explore the world and see the creatures and that like be a part of that ecosystem and watch the world kind of go by. Because I remember Subnautica 1, that was my favorite thing to do, was just to sit in my base and watch the fish swim by. And I think watching people do that in Subnautica 2 and showing off their creations is going to be pretty exciting.
Aaron, you next.
Do I have to pick one thing? I am very excited for the community to see the story that Seth and Anthony and Tim, our narrative designer, have crafted. I think that we've got some work to do on it, but I think that people are going to be very happy. That leads into all of our voice acting, which I am positively thrilled for people to see and hear. But lastly, I'm really excited to get the feedback from the community. That was one of the reasons that I joined Unknown Worlds, was the concept of early access and to actually get to engage with the community, to build the game with them, for them. So that is the one thing that I am abjectly looking forward to, is the feedback from all of you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Community feedback is like the bit that I love about my job as well, is being able to like go through it all and see it all. Daniel, you're up next.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about Subnautica is how it can be so many things to so many people. There's so many ways to enjoy the game, and I'm really looking forward to being surprised and, fascinated by the ways people have fun with this game. Potentially, thrilled or shocked, who knows? But I'm really excited to see, what people do with this game once it's out there.
And Sam, I guess you're the last one.
Yeah, I think I'm mostly interested to see people experience the story, because obviously the story is one of the main things we're not going to show too much of before launch. We want people to experience it in the game, and I think Seth has been cooking up some real good stuff there. So I'm really excited to see people see all the story, the PDA logs, the voice logs, the databank entries, piece it all together. People have already started making like theory crafting boards, trying to connect up all the dots of the story. So I can't wait to see how those expand once there's more story for people to kind of dig into.
Yeah, I think like my thing is the community is like so incredible in how they engage with, and have engaged with Subnautica and Below Zero before it. Like every single way that we anticipate that someone might play the game or someone might get inspired by the game, kind of like changes completely when it hits the community. Like people play the games in ways that we probably never expected. You just need to watch speedrunners taking advantage of some of the weird things that the game can do to kind of see that. Or even like our incredible modding community who like take some jumping off points and like create things, or people who are inspired to be creative in other ways. We've got artists, there's writers, there's theory crafters, there's people who document every single aspect of the game on like the wiki and stuff like that. I think for me, the thing that's like most exciting for me is to see how the community morphs and changes and rallies around Subnautica 2 and what they make of it and kind of like create from it. So I'm very, very excited to see what you all do with it. So I guess as a reminder, while we come up to the end of the Q&A, Subnautica 2 coming out on May 14th. We do have a date and time map that once we're done here, I will make sure is posted in the announcements room and across our social media as well, so that you can see it. It is on our website in the blog post. It is also going to be $29.99 US dollars. So that is the US price. Please check your local regional store for wherever you are planning to buy it for your local currency and your local price. And again, it'll be Steam, Epic, Microsoft Store, and Xbox. So it's going to be Xbox Series, so Xbox Series S, Xbox Series S, and also it'll be playable on the Steam Deck and the, I always get this the wrong way around, ROG Xbox Ally or Xbox ROG Ally, one way or the other. I always forget
the series.
order.
'Cause
Yes,
there's two of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's also one more thing, Don.
Yeah.
If people purchase the game within the first week of release, people have already spotted a little something special.
Oh, did it go out on one of the pages already?
It looks like
the
it
store
did.
pages? Okay. We'll let you know ahead of time. If you purchase the game within the first week that it is on sale, and that is on any of the platforms that it is available on, you will get a really cool and creepy looking Reaper Leviathan statue for your base. So it's a base decoration that you will be able to build. There's no extra cost, no nothing. You just buy the game in the first week and it comes with it. So it'll be in your blueprints and you'll be able to build it and put it in your
But
bases.
only in the first week.
Only in the first week. So if you buy early access in the first week, you will have that. We'll probably share some images of it if it's already accidentally out there. We were going to announce it with some like pretty pictures and stuff, but if it's already out there, now you know.
It's all over Discord chat, which is why I brought it up.
That's fine. We'll just let you
They
know.
always
anyway.
find out
Why
everything,
not?
Discord.
Yeah. Nothing is secret. Nothing is sacred. The community always knows. I think that's about everything we have time for, but thank you to all of the devs who sort of like have come in, have like answered questions. We really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you to everyone for like all of your excitement, your support, everything. We really appreciate you. There is only 2 weeks. There is only 2 weeks left until you get Subnautica 2 in early access. We are extremely excited for you to get your hands on it. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm. Thank you so much for everything. We have a lot more coming over the next 2 weeks, so just, keep an eye on everything, on our announcements, our social channels, everything. We have a lot of really fun activities and interactions and everything coming up over the next 2 weeks to keep you kind of going until the game comes out. So this next 2 weeks is going to pass by extremely quickly. So we're really excited. Thank you so much. And I guess we'll see you all in game on the 14th.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, community. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.